Today, I'm going to tell you two horrible stories about incredibly unlucky and careless people. If you pay close attention to the first one, you'll realize that the simple mistake made is almost invisible. I'd be happy if you point out what you find in the comments. Viewer discretion is advised. On the morning of February 11th, 1998, the wild beauty of Norway's Ringedalsvik region became the stage for a tragedy that would haunt the caving community for years. Nathan Harper, a 36-year-old amateur caver from Seattle, had crossed the Atlantic to explore the Trolltunga Caves, nestled in the cliffs overlooking Ringedalsvik Lake. Accompanied by his close friend, 31-year-old Amanda Clark, and her 27-year-old cousin Lucas Bennett, Nathan's expedition was meant to be a bold adventure in one of Norway's most unforgiving natural wonders. Instead, it descended into a horror story in the relentless grip of the underground. Located in the rugged terrain of Vestland County, the Trolltunga Caves held a magnetic allure for daring explorers. Half hidden by moss-covered rocks, their jagged, saw-toothed entrance led to a labyrinth of tunnels twisting like roots beneath the cliffs. The caves were renowned for their breathtaking beauty, glistening icicles and subterranean pools reflecting headlamp beams, but they were equally notorious for their dangers. Narrow passages, sheer drops, and icy water flows had claimed careless adventurers before. Nathan, Amanda, and Lucas knew the risks. They had spent months researching the caves, studying geological maps, and preparing for Norway's harsh winter conditions. The trio reached the trailhead at dawn. The air was sharp, thick with the scent of pine and frozen earth. As they hiked snow-covered paths toward the cave's entrance, their backpacks brimmed with ropes, carabiners, headlamps, and thermal gear. Nathan, who had caved in Washington's Cascade Range, led the group, his confidence rooted in years of experience. Amanda, skilled in climbing and with some caving under her belt, trusted Nathan implicitly. Lucas, less experienced but eager to prove himself, deferred to the expertise of his two companions. At the cave's entrance, a narrow, 2-foot-wide fissure, they paused to check their gear. The entrance slopped sharply downward, pulling cavers into a near-vertical chimney slide into the unknown. Nathan went first, his headlamp slicing through the darkness as he navigated the initial 15-foot drop. The walls were slick with ice, limestone biting into his gloved fingers. Amanda followed, cautious but steady. Lucas brought up the rear, his boots scraping against the rock. After a 25-minute descent, they reached the first major chamber, a cavern with a 40-foot ceiling and a floor littered with frost-covered rocks. The chamber felt like a frozen cathedral, its air heavy with the smell of damp stone. Nathan unfurled a topographic map and traced a route to a deeper passage called the Frost Spiral, rumored to lead to an underground ice waterfall. The path required a series of tight crawls and a 20-foot drop, but Nathan's enthusiasm was infectious. He spoke of the ice waterfall's legendary beauty, sheets of frozen water gleaming like glass in the dark. Amanda nodded, her faith in Nathan unshaken. Lucas managed a nervous smile, the cave's oppressive cold fueling his unease. The journey to the Frost Spiral was grueling. The first obstacle was a 50-foot crawl locals called the Ice Trap, just 16 inches high, its walls coated in a thin layer of ice. Nathan led, sliding on his stomach, his breath fogging in the beam of his headlamp. The passage seemed to narrow with every inch, cold stone pressing against his chest. Amanda followed, her pulse quickening as the walls brushed her shoulders. Lucas, at the rear, pushed through his fear, the weight of the rock above constricting his every move. After an exhausting effort, they emerged into a wider tunnel, their clothes damp, their faces flushed from exertion. The next challenge was a 20-foot vertical chimney leading to the Frost Spiral's entrance. Nathan secured a rope to a stalactite, tested its strength, and lowered himself down. The descent was controlled, his boots finding purchase on the chimney's icy ledges. Amanda and Lucas followed, their trust in Nathan's skill easing the knot in their stomachs. Below, the Frost Spiral revealed itself a serpentine passage with dizzying twists, its walls shimmering with frozen condensation. The distant sound of water beckoned them forward. For nearly 2 hours, they navigated the spiral's disorienting curves. The tunnel narrowed, forcing single-file crawls. Their headlamps illuminated only a few feet ahead. Nathan's calm voice kept the group grounded. He pointed out ice formations, their delicate shapes glinting like chandeliers. Amanda listened, her fear giving way to awe. Lucas, lagging slightly, was worn down by the cold's relentless weight. Then disaster struck. In a tight section of the spiral, Nathan stopped abruptly. The passage ahead, unmarked on their map, had collapsed into a mere 9-inch wide fissure, vanishing into shadowed depths. Nathan, lean but broad-chested, hesitated. He had squeezed through tighter spaces, but this felt different. The fissure slopped sharply downward, its walls slick with ice. Amanda, right behind him, suggested turning back. Nathan wavered, the distant sound of the ice waterfall pulling at him. Against his better judgment, he decided to try the fissure. Nathan removed his backpack, pushing it ahead, and began crawling through the fissure. The rock was merciless, scraping his ribs and hips, compressing his breath. His headlamp clattered against the ceiling, flickering. Amanda and Lucas watched, their lights fixed on Nathan's still visible legs. Minutes dragged on, each heavier than the last. Nathan's movements slowed, his breaths coming in short gasps. Then silence. His legs went still. For over an hour, Amanda and Lucas tried everything to free him. They pushed against the rock, attempted to widen the passage, but the limestone refused to yield. They shouted until their throats burned, hoping for any sign of life. The cave's cold seeped into their bones, their headlamps dimming as batteries drained. Realizing they couldn't save Nathan, Amanda made the heart-wrenching decision to seek help. They crawled back through the spiral, climbed the 20-foot chimney, and staggered to the surface. The ascent took nearly 3 hours, their bodies battered, their minds numb. On the Trolltunga Trail, shivering and mud-streaked, Amanda and Lucas flagged down a park ranger. The ranger, a stoic Norwegian named Lars Ekstrom, alerted the Hordaland Cave Rescue Unit. By PM, a dozen rescuers equipped with drills, pulleys, and thermal blankets descended into the cave. The team moved with precision, but the cave's structure slowed their progress. The spiral's twists and the ice trap tested their endurance. The narrow fissure where Nathan was trapped was nearly impassable. When they reached the fissure, the rescuers confirmed their worst fears. Nathan was unresponsive, his body wedged deep within the crevice. The passage was so tight that only one rescuer could approach at a time. Their tools were nearly useless. They worked for hours, chipping away at the rock with hand drills and rigging a pulley system to distribute Nathan's weight. Just after midnight, after 7 hours of relentless effort, the team extracted Nathan. His body was limp, his skin deathly pale. Hypothermia had set in hours earlier, the rock's pressure on his chest stifling his breath. The rescuers carried him to the surface, where paramedics waited, but it was too late. Nathan Harper was pronounced dead at 1:14 a.m. on February 12, 1998. The official cause, asphyxiation due to prolonged entrapment, with hypothermia as a secondary factor. Amanda and Lucas were inconsolable. Wrapped in blankets at the ranger station, they were racked with guilt and grief. Amanda replayed Nathan's decision to enter the fissure, wondering if she could have stopped him. Lucas stared blankly at the floor, the cave's silence still ringing in his ears. The rescuers, seasoned in perilous extractions, offered quiet condolences, their own exhaustion etched in their eyes. In the weeks that followed, the Trolltunga Caves became a somber footnote in Norway's outdoor community. Park authorities restricted access to the Frost Spiral, citing its unpredictable dangers. Nathan's story spread through caving forums, a cautionary tale about the thin line between ambition and recklessness. Amanda never caved again, haunted by the memory of Nathan's stillness. Lucas moved to Canada, seeking distance from Rinjadalsvit's shadow. The Trolltunga Caves remain open to experienced cavers, but the spiral is rarely ventured. Those who approach it speak of an eerie silence, as if the cave guards its secrets fiercely. For Nathan Harper, it was a boundary too far a reminder that even the most prepared can fall to the earth's unrelenting depths. If you found the mistake in the first story, the second story will also pique your interest. In this story, you'll witness how three friends' quest for adventure turns into horrible chaos. On the morning of July 9, 2023, in England's Derbyshire region, nestled among the verdant hills of the Peak District, Peak Cavern became the stage for the tragic end of three American adventurers. Peak Cavern, near the village of Castleton, lay within a rocky maw surrounded by heathlands. Its vast chambers and underground streams tantalized cavers, but its deeper tunnels were dauntingly narrow. Some passages squeezed so tightly or ended abruptly in blind walls that the damp stones turned into a slippery trap. Mason Hartley, a 36-year-old amateur caver from Portland, set out to uncover the dark secrets of this limestone cave. Accompanying him were his 33-year-old college friend, Olivia Brennan, and Olivia's cousin, 29-year-old Jared Whitlock. Intent on revealing the cave's hidden passages, the trio was drawn into a disaster by the merciless grip of its dead-end tunnels. In the early morning, the trio reached the cave's entrance. The opening was a damp, 3-foot-wide fissure. The first corridor quickly narrowed into a chest-compressing tunnel. Mason led, sidling through, his headlamp catching glints of calcite veins on the rocks. Olivia followed, measuring her breaths as the stone's chill numbed her hands. Jared felt the tunnel's weight with every step. Within minutes, the passage tightened so much that their ribs grazed the rocks. The air was heavy with the scent of mold and wet stone. The first obstacle was the choke, a 25-meter crawl. The tunnel dropped to knee-height, its ceiling slick with dripping water. Mason slid through on his belly, rocks tearing at his elbows. Olivia, heart-pounding, followed, her headlamp flickering on muddy surfaces. Jared crawled, feeling the tunnel swallow him with every inch. Midway, the passage narrowed to a knife edge, opening into a mud-caked, 10-inch-high gap. Beyond the constriction, the tunnel plunged into a pool of water, cold enough to reach their hips. Even neoprene suits couldn't block the chill, freezing their bones. They crossed the pool and reached the river chamber, a low-ceilinged room adorned with calcite threads. Mason scanned the map and chose to head toward Blind Alley, a vague passage rumored to lead to a hidden crystal pool. Olivia, tired but curious, agreed. Jared, dazed by the water's numbing effect, followed silently. The path to Blind Alley wound through a series of dead-end tunnels. The first was 12 inches wide, zigzagging downward. Mason sidled through, rocks bruising his ribs. Olivia, breathless, followed, the stones pinching her shoulders. Jared pressed on, gripped by a fear that the tunnel was closing in. The passage abruptly turned into a crack an 8-inch wide, damp-clogged fissure descending to a blind wall. Mason studied the unmapped crack. Hoping it led to the pool, he decided to try it. Mason pushed his bag ahead, squeezing through the crack as the rock clamped his chest like a vice, each breath a struggle. Olivia and Jared waited, their lights fixed on Mason's boots. The crack swallowed him. Then a rumble echoed. The tunnel floor, eroded by moisture, collapsed, pinning Mason's torso under a rock slab. His legs went rigid, his breath became a muffled groan, then silenced. When Olivia realized Mason was still, panic flooded her lungs. She screamed his name, her voice smothered by the rocks. Jared leaned forward, his light searching for Mason's boots crushed beneath the rock. They pushed the stone, pulled the rope, but it wouldn't budge. Minutes stretched. Their hands bled, nails caked with mud, but the rock held Mason fast. The cave's damp air clouded their minds as their headlamps dimmed and darkness closed in. Realizing Mason was gone, Olivia and Jared had to turn back. They crawled backward through blind alley zigzags, crossed the pool, and climbed the choke. The surface was a grueling 2.5-hour effort away. Their bodies collapsed, their spirits shattered. At the entrance, a hiker called the Derbyshire rescue team. By afternoon, 4 rescuers entered the cave. The choke and pool slowed their progress. Blind Alley's crack was like a coffin. When they reached Mason, he had no pulse. The collapsed rock rendered their tools useless. After a 4-hour struggle, they extracted him. His skin was gray, dead for hours. On July 10, 2023, at 1:22 a.m., his death was declared. Cause: crush asphyxiation from rock collapse. Olivia and Jared grappled with grief at the rescue point. Olivia couldn't erase Mason's final moments in the crack. Jared carried the cave's suffocating darkness in his lungs. Peak Cavern became a horror story. Blind Alley was sealed off. The cave claimed Mason Hartley's last breath.